Thank you, and let's move to the next agenda. There is speech as an opening remark. It's my pleasure to introduce Mrs. Ida Nuraini Hadna as a librarian of UIN Sunan Kalijaga. We are Mrs. Ida Nuraini Hadna to deliver the opening remark.
Thank you, Annisa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. I am very happy to be here and meet all of you. I'm Ida Nuraini Hadna, librarian of UIN Sunan Kalijaga. On this occasion, to my Muslim brothers and sisters, I want to say Eid Mubarak and wish you all blessing and happiness. Next, I would like to take this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to Dr. P.K. Chen upon the passing of your wife. Words can't express how saddened we are to hear of your loss. We always remember her for caring and loving nature. Also, our deepest condolences upon the passing of the Honorable Mr. Ferdi Nico Yohanes Pei, the Deputy Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to India. May he rest in peace, and we will always remember him. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, many thanks to all of your joining on our program, the International Talk Visiting Librarian Session 5, organized by UIN Sunan Kalijaga Library, SLA Asia, and APPTIS. I would like to say thank you to the Honorable Professor Dr. Al-Makin, PhD, Rector of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, and the Honorable Labibah Zain, Director of UIN Sunan Kalijaga Library, Director of APPTIS, and past President SLA Asia Asian Chapter. My appreciation to the Honorable Mr. Kirkwood, State Business School of Oxford University. Also to the Honorable Dr. Debal Sikar, President of SLA Asia. And also my great gratitude to the Honorable Shirley Ingles-Cruz, Commission on Appointments, Congress of the Philippines, as the speaker at this time. Many thanks to Shirley for your willingness to accept our invitation. My appreciation goes to Thoriq Prabowo, Library Information Lecturer of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, as our moderator, and Annisa Rahayu, Library Information Student of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, as the Master of Ceremony. My appreciation also goes to UIN Sunan Kalijaga Librarian team for their efforts in conducting this webinar. Also, I thanks to iGroup and EBSCO for the supporting in this library program. Ladies and gentlemen, this time the program takes the theme Government Librarian, especially about the library at the Commission and Appointments, Congress of the Philippines. I hope that from this webinar, the participants will gain new knowledge and broaden our insights as a librarian about what and how the role and contribution of government librarian, especially in supporting its parent institution within the scope of a special library. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope we are always passionate about working in this pandemic era. Around the countries, we earnestly hope that everyone can overcome this pandemic crisis and this pandemic will end soon. Finally, I don't want to take too much your time. Let's join this program carefully and keep healthy. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I turn back the time to Master of Ceremony. Thank you, Annisa.
Okay, thank you so much, Mrs. Ida, for your speech. And secondly, we invite Mr. Kirkwood. But before that, let me give you an information about Mr. Hall. Mr. Hal Kirkwood is a both-lane business librarian in the Sainsbury Library at the State Business School, University of Oxford. He is the past president of Special Libraries Association. He has authored the 4th edition of Strauss Handbook of Business Information, along with numerous articles. He also serves the editorial board of Business Information Review. Mr. Hall is the only librarian recognized in the Book of Great Teacher of Purdue University. Okay, Mr. Hall, time is yours.
Thanks very much. Good morning from Oxford, United Kingdom. Thank you to the MC. Thank you to Labiba Jane for inviting me into UEN Sunan Kalijaga Library, SLA Asia, and APPTIS for hosting this event, and for this continuing series of visiting librarian talks. As was just said, I'm currently past president of the Special Libraries Association, a group of over 3,000 librarians and information professionals around the globe representing academic, corporate, government, and related libraries and institutions. SLA is the primary association for international librarians and information professionals, providing the opportunity to learn, communicate, and collaborate on the many and varied issues and topics within the information profession. The association supports the opportunity to connect in a variety of communities, both geographically and topically. A new learning management system has recently been implemented that is slowly growing with valuable instructional content. Every year, there is the SLA Annual Conference and Info Expo, bringing together info pros and industry partners from across the information marketplace. Numerous initiatives are currently underway within SLA, including a task force on the return of investment of libraries, as well as a group developing a framework for workplace information literacy. We have a team looking into grants and foundations to fund new initiatives. Recently, SLA had the Innovation Challenge to seek out innovative ideas for offering new services, developing new revenue streams, and to enhance the value of membership and to attract new members. The information profession faces many challenges, from the multitude of resources to the growing consolidation of information providers in some sectors, from the increasing competition of the ever-growing internet to determining our place and role in the battle against misinformation and fake news, to determining our place from the continuing move away from reactive reference support to proactive development of information literacy instruction and skills, from dealing with online catalogs to dealing with federated search platforms, quantitative and qualitative data analytic tools, to machine learning, AI, R, Python, and tools like Tableau and NVivo. Issues related to the scholarly publishing and communications, including open access, open educational resources, and from serving as the collector of information and documents to moving towards the provider, the manager, the analyzer of information and data. It is through collaborations, partnerships, and opportunities to share and communicate that each of us can grow and develop as an information professional and as a human. Events like the Visiting Librarian Talks are just one example of this interconnectedness that is so valuable. Continue to seek these out as both an attendee and as a participant whenever you can. We all have so much to share with each other. Again, thank you very much for inviting me to this event, and I will now hand this back to the MC.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Hall. I know you are a busy person. Thank you so much for taking time to join with us. Once again, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to the next agenda, I will give you an information for all the participants that want to get a certificate. Please fill in the attendance form and take a note that the registration key is 87755. 4. Once again, the registration key is 8 7 7 5 4. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was only the beginning. Now we come to our main program that will be led by our moderator, Mr. Thoriq Prabowo. But before that, let me introduce our moderator first. Mr. Thoriq Prabowo is a lecturer in UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta. He finished his bachelor and master in UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta with his major library and information science. He interested in international and media studies, and he has a lot of papers such as books, journal article, proceeding, and much of an article in media. Mr. Thoriq also active in scientific forum. He often presenting his paper in international conference such as Electronically in Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Okay, Mr. Thoriq, time is yours, and please handle the session.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the international talk, Visiting International Librarian, organized by UIN Sunan Kalijaga Library, incorporated with Asian Chapter and APPTIS. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Ms. Labiba Zain, to UIN Sunan Kalijaga Yogyakarta Library, Asian Chapter, and APPTIS to invite me in this great event. In this afternoon, we will discuss about what and how the government library in Philippines. In this beautiful moment, we have Miss Shirley Ingles-Cruz that will share with us about her experience in Philippine government library. Okay, I think this topic is interesting because in my opinion, Indonesia and Philippines government have a similar character. If I'm not wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, both of the country separate the government into three types. They are executive, judicative, and legislative. Each of them has its own responsibility. To do their job, I believe that all of them need information supporting system, and library provides the information sources to support the associated government management. The government librarians play the important roles in this case, I think. And I understand you have a lot of questions regarding this topic. But please hold your question until the presentation is completely delivered. Okay, before the presentation, I will read the short biography of the speaker. Ms. Shirley Ingles-Cruz is the head librarian of the Commission of Appointment, Congress of Philippines. She graduated from LIS department in University of Philippines, Dilman, and her master degree in the public administration major in Polytechnic University of Philippines. She also involved in the professional affiliation such as SLA Asia as a president in 2013, SLA Asia advisor, and ASLP president in 2011. She also received the various professional awards and recognition. Okay, hi Shirley, how are you?
I'm fine. Thanks very much, Thoriq, for that very appreciative introduction.
Yeah. Shirley, this is your time. Are you ready to share with us?
Yes, I will share my screen. Yeah,
okay.
Just a moment.
To make the time effective, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Shirley Cruz. Time is yours.
Thank you very much, Thoriq. One moment, please.
Okay.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Now? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of you all knew me already because I've been to Indonesia before. My presentation will be more about how the works are, how do we go about supporting the agency in terms of confirmation process. My collection actually is very unique, for the reason that our holdings is more of documents rather than books. As we go on my presentation, I will show you how works is being done in our agency. So my presentation will give you a short fact about the agency, the Commission on Appointments, the Data Bank and Library Service, which is my unit, our information function in the governing laws that we follow, and some issues and concerns. But first of all, I would like to show you that working in the government is, of course, is very much different compared to working in the private sector. We in the government need to adhere with some policies of the government, such as the Civil Service Commission. Am I very fast? We need to pass some examinations in order to work in the government. We in the library sector, me as a librarian, I need to pass the licensure exam before I could practice the profession. Just a brief background, the Commission on the Civil Service Commission is the central personnel agency of the government. So all the personnel working in the government need to pass through the approval of the Civil Service Commission. So there are some competencies that we need to adhere to for certain positions in the government. In the case of the library sector, we need to pass the licensure exam for librarians, and this is given by the Professional Regulation Commission, which is the agency mandated to implement the regulatory laws and policies for various regulated professions such as engineering, accounting, and so on. And the next one is, we in the library sector, me as a librarian, we need also to adhere to some laws in order to practice the profession. For instance, the very law that was passed in 1999 is about the Philippine Librarian Act. This is an act regulating the practice of a librarianship and prescribing the qualifications of librarians. Because before 1990, there is really no board exam or a government exam for librarians. So as long as you are graduate of a library science course, you can practice the profession. But since 1990, since the passing of the Republic Act 6966, you cannot be a librarian unless you pass the licensure exam. And this law was amended by the Republic Act number 9246, because of the same changes in technology and changes of time, we need to amend some laws in the profession. So the new law that covers our profession is the Republic Act 9246, known as the Philippine Librarianship Act. It is an act modernizing the practice of librarianship in the Philippines. The policy states that the state recognizes the essential role of librarianship as a profession in developing the intellectual capacity of the citizenry, thus making library service a regular component. Because it's maybe, I don't know if you experience it in your country, before librarians is not highly regarded in the Philippines. But with the passing of the Republic Act 9246 and the 6966, librarians are highly recognized nowadays. And also with the passing of time as well, and with some competencies that we need to adhere to, the Republic Act number 10912 or the Continuing Professional Development Act of the Philippines, we, the librarians, as well as some other professionals, engineering, accounting, and so on, we need to earn some continuing professional development or the CPD in order to renew our license. So in the Philippines, our librarian license is only good for 5 years. Before it's only good for 3 years, but now I think it's only good for 5 years. So after such years, we need to renew our license in order to practice the profession. And the only way to do that is we need to earn some points or the CPD points in order to renew the license. Otherwise, we cannot practice the profession. And so moving on, here is the agency where I'm working for the past 20 years. I'm with the Commission on Appointments for the past 20 years as the head librarian. As Thoriq mentioned earlier, we in the Philippines is divided into 3 branches: the executive or the office of the president, the departments, and so on, the judiciary, which includes the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, the Ombudsman, and other courts, and the legislative, which is the Senate, the upper house and the lower house, the Senate and the House of Representatives, where the Commission on Appointment as an independent body is under the legislative branch. So whoever is the Senate President is also the chairman of the Commission on Appointments. So in the Commission, our mandate is actually vested in the Philippine Constitution, which is the power to approve or disapprove appointments made by the President of the Philippines, the confirmation of which is required under the Constitution. This power shall be discharged with impartiality, without partisan consideration. So all the appointments of the President of the Philippines or from the executive office need to pass through the approval or disapproval of the Commission on Appointments. So basically, the function of the Commission on Appointments is to check whether the President of the Philippines has exercised the power to appoint wisely by appointing only those who are fit and qualified. Because these appointees or nominees are the heads of all the departments of the Philippines. So these are high-ranking officials in the military and high-ranking official in the foreign affairs, as well as the heads of all the departments, like the Department of Energy, the Department of Education, Higher Education, Tourism, and so on. So membership of the Commission of Appointments is through the Senate being the president is the ex officio. It means that whoever is the Senate president is the automatic chairman or chairperson of the Commission on Appointments, from which there are 12 members or 12 senators and also 12 members from the House of Representatives chosen among them to be member of the Commission on Appointments. So in hindsight, the confirmation, this is how the confirmation flow process wherein our works really comes in. More of our work in the data bank or in the library, in the archives, are in support of the confirmation flow process of the Commission on Appointments. To start with, and in most cases, documents or the process will start from the Office of the President, wherein we will receive the presidential nomination or appointments. From then, we work on that nomination or appointments. So without the appointment or nomination of the President of the Philippines, there is nothing for us to do. So all those appointments need to pass us, whether we confirm or we give the consent, our members give the consent, or we reject. So at the end of the day, at the end of all the process, we make the report to the President on the result of his appointments or nomination, whether the Commission on Appointments rejects or accepts or approves the nomination. So that's basically how the documents flow, and all the documents needed from then are all coming from us. This is the process that we support with our informations, with our documents, in order to come up with a decision whether to confirm the appointees or the nominees, or whether to reject. And so this is the data bank in library service where I'm connected, or where I belong. The function of the data bank in library service is the IT. We are the IT arm of the Commission on Appointments. We are the central depository of records concerning appointments. And we are also the information sources. More of our collection, we actually, we have little book collection. More of our collection is more on records, more on documents, more on other informations related with appointments. And our service is divided into group, the EDP group and the Records and Management group, which I am the leader. And ironic, the sad thing is, or the challenging part actually, is me being the head of the library, or the head librarian, is also the head of, is also working as the librarian, the archivist, because at the moment we don't have an archivist. So I am the librarian, and I am the head, and I am the archivist at the same time. So that's why I was telling Lavibo a while ago that at the moment we only report for work for 2 days, and most of the time I'm working from home, but it's kind of busy whether I'm home or whether I'm in the office. It's really, I'm always on call. Because most of the time, especially now that the Congress is in session, most of the time I'm receiving call while I'm at home with regards to request of
Hello, sorry, Shirley.
Can you hear me?
Yes, right now, yeah.
Yes, I hear.
Am I very fast?
Maybe trouble.
Yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, so this is exactly the information function of the Commission on Appointments. The CA, or the data bank, or the data bank and library service, which I belong in particular, is the Philippine source of information regarding appointments, nomination of the Philippine presidents. These are all about appointments, nominations, all the department heads under the office of the president. So all the heads come through the process, the confirmation process, come through the hands of the Commission on Appointments. And also, all the commissioners need to pass through our agency. All the promotions of ambassadors and foreign service officers need to pass through the Commission on Appointments also. And all the promotion of high-ranking military officers from colonel and up need to pass through or need the approval of the Commission on Appointments for their promotion. However, this is the irony of the work. The types of documents that the CA holds and receives are mostly restricted and confidential in nature. Because it deals with national security, it deals with personal information of all the heads of the agencies. That's why request for information to our agency needs approval of the head of the Commission on Appointments. We just don't give information to in any request, unlike with, maybe with your libraries, with other libraries. Ours, we always need the approval of the head of our agency, the head of the Commission on Appointments, before we can provide you the information. That's how restrictive our documents are. So that's basically my responsibility. So what are commonly these are the types of documents that we receive, like the appointments coming from the Office of the Presidents and all correspondences related to the appointments, and the documentary requirements that all the appointments need to submit to our agency. So we have a list of documents that, say for instance, nominee or appointee for the head of the Department of Justice need to submit to the Commission on Appointments. So, and also some court resolutions, whether they have pending cases in the courts or not. So they need to provide us some clearance before we process their appointments. So in actuality, these are the records that we hold in the data bank and library service, correspondences, press releases, notice of meeting, subpoena, minutes, resolutions, transfers of records, journals. As you can see, these are all loose documents that more records that we need to organize, whether in the cloud or whether physically. So in actuality, this is how our work in the data bank flows. So the moment we receive the document, we identify whether it's confidential, whether it's just a simple document for the other department, or whether it's for the operation, or whether it's with regards to the appointees. And so we need to identify whether it's for the administration, whether it's for other offices, and for operation. Operation is, our department actually is the operation department, because we are in charge of all the processes involved in meetings and the confirmation flow process of the appointees. And so as the use at the normal as you do also in your library, we record in the logbook, and at the same time we record it in our database. We have our in-house programmers, so we don't subscribe to available database in the market. We make our own database because our collection is very much unique as compared to your collection. So we assign tracking number. At the moment, working in the government, it's not easy to propose and be approved. So at the moment, our barcoding and QR coding process is still in process. We are waiting for the approval of our proposal to do barcoding and to do QR coding. And so the moment we receive the documents, we scan them, and we have several backups. We have backup in the cloud, we have physical backup, and other extra backups. So in case of emergency, we can easily access our documents. And so we disseminate also to the concerned department. And as usual, we do the subject heading, subject indexing, and encoding and cataloging, and so on. And then we file. This is the normal process which we also do in the library, in your library. And as you can see, you see this bulk of documents. These are the type of documents that we normally receive for each appointee. Each appointee needs to submit 32 copies of this list of these documentary requirements to our office. Why? Because we need to give 1 copy each for our 24 members. As you may recall, as I mentioned before, we have 12 members coming from the Senate and 12 members coming from the House of Representatives. So we need to provide them a copy for each of them. But at the moment, because of the pandemic, we temporarily just request 6 copies, because we normally do not distribute the physical copy anymore at this moment of pandemic. What we do is the soft copy. So the moment we receive the original copy, we immediately scan and disseminate or send to the members of the Commission on Appointments. So what are the documents that we receive for each appointee or for each person appointed by the President of the Philippines? So we need to have their family background. We need to have their curriculum vitae. They need to give us document disclosing under oath their kinship with other government agencies. their income tax for the past 3 years, their statement of assets and liabilities for the past, 4 years, and disclosure of business interests if they have. And also they need to provide us clearances coming from the National Bureau of Investigation, just to make sure that they don't have any criminal record. And also they need to submit us clearance from the Bureau of Internal Revenue, just to let us know that they don't owe debts, or they don't pay, or they religiously pay their taxes annually. And also we also need clearance from the Commission of Human Rights, just to make sure that they do not commit any human violations. And also clearance from the Ombudsman, just to let us know that they don't have any administrative cases and other money and property accountabilities. We also need to know if the appointee is physically fit, so they need to submit a medical certificate as well. And they need to submit us document under oath, any pending criminal or administrative case, and so on and so forth. So as you may know, these are the type of documents that we receive and that we manage in the Commission on Appointments, especially in the data bank and library service. We are very much unique as compared to your library, because we are more of the records and we are more of the documents, which I'm in charge at the moment. So it's really tiring, and it really needs more attention in order for us to give an exact and informative information to our senators and to our congressmen. So, as I've mentioned before, that all the heads of the agencies, we call it the cabinet secretaries in the commissioners, they are lots, and we require them to submit us in different color. We do have a color-coded system for us to identify whether the appointment is a cabinet secretary or the head of the department, whether it's a foreign affairs officer or whether it's a military officer. So for heads of agencies, we ask them to use the yellow folder or yellow coded covering. For foreign affairs, it's blue, and for military officers, it's green. So how do we treat? As I've mentioned, most of our documents are confidential and restricted in nature. So these are the ways on how we treat the documents during meetings and plenary sessions. So for discussion in executive session, if they contain matters affecting privacy rights, example, those relating to moral fitness and national security, we are the ones who prepare all these documents in support of the confirmation process. So it's not only the data bank that supports the information needs of the appointments. It is also our responsibility to make sure that the information are available and safely kept during meetings and during plenary sessions. So, if the matters concerns were of privacy rights and national security, what we do is we mark it confidential and we labeled it as for discussion in executive session. We normally prepare the working folders for the committee hearings and sessions, but on matters of confidentiality and restrictiveness of the documents, we do not include them in the working folders. The data bank, we in the library, in the archives, in the records are in charge of preparing the working folders. But if they are confidential or if they are restrictive, we do not put them in the folders. We only bring them during the meetings, but it's with our keepsafing. We do not just give them unless the Senate President, or I mean the CA Chairman, gives clearance that we can provide documents of confidential nature to all the members of the Commission on Appointments. So what else? How do we treat confidential profile or the investigation report? So distribution to the CA members only immediately prior to the hearing. So we normally give advance copy to the members of the Commission on Appointments a few days before the meetings. But in instances of the confidential records, we only provide them immediately prior to the hearing, but only when there is a go signal or a clearance from the chairman of the Commission on Appointments that we should provide each member of the commission with the confidential records. So classified confidential are retrieved immediately after the hearing. Confidential records also not to be copied, shown, or distributed unless the rule of secrecy is lifted or approved by the Senate or by the CA chairman or by the head of our agency. So what are the governing rules that we follow? So normally we follow some IFLA guidelines for filing of records, but in our cases we also do that, the usual cataloging and so on that we normally do in our library, in our museums, in our archives. But since the nature of our holdings is very much unique compared to your holdings, and we are confidential. In most cases, our documents is confidential and restricted in nature. There are some laws that we need to follow in handling our documents. First and foremost is the SAE rules. This is actually the rules of the Commission on Appointments, wherein all the members of the commission follows. This is actually the protocol that we follow in terms of hearing, meetings, handling documents, and so on and so forth. And other than that, there are also laws that we need to observe in handling our documents. Like, for instance, the Memorandum Circular 78. Actually, this is very old already, but still, this is not amended and still in use until now. Actually, I have a separate presentation with regards to handling confidential information. I already shared it if you have the SlideShare account, you can search it there. But going back, so the Memorandum Circular 78 is actually what we follow in terms of handling confidential or secret or restricted documents. And there is an amendment for that. Well, it's just with regards to some technology, the technology is evolving as well as the handling of documents is evolving. So we also observe that, and as much as possible, we equip ourselves to know all those things so that we are briefed and we are updated as to changes in laws and changes in handling of the documents. And also another law that we also observe is the MC number 196. This is establishing a national security clearance system for government personnel with access to classified matters and for other purposes. Because, we work in the government. Maybe unlike with the academe or unlike with the private agencies, there are really some laws that we need to follow in terms of handling government records. Another thing is the RA 9470 or the National Archives of the Philippines. This is an act to strengthen the system of management and administration of archival records. So all our archival concerns, disposal and everything needs to get clearance from the National Archives of the Philippines. So it's not very easy. We cannot just dispose our old records without the approval of the National Archives of the Philippines. All the government agencies need to observe this law and need to follow this law. Also, the other law that we need also to observe is the RA 10173, or the Act Protecting Individual Personal Information in Communication Systems in the Government and Private Sectors. So this is actually the National Privacy Commission. This is more of the Data Privacy Act. So as I've mentioned before, more of our documents is on the personal information of the appointee. However, even though this law says that we need to provide information of all the people working in the government, but we still need to observe some privacy law because we are not under the executive office. We are a legislative office, which is completely separate and independent with the executive office. We need also, although we need to adhere with this law, but there are also some laws that we need to observe because of the uniqueness of our collection or of our documents. And other thing is the Executive Order number 2, which is the information. This is more on information access. However, this law is only applicable with the offices under the executive office. It's not really, we are not really covered of this law, but we also observe them. But in terms of access and dissemination of information outside of our agency, the requesting party still need to be approved by the head of our agency. So in other words, we cannot just give you the information that you need without the approval of our big boss or of our secretary. So just like the ordinary library, just like the ordinary records office, just like your library, there are issues and concerns that we need to ponder upon, because there are really some issues and problems that, working in the government is not just, sometimes it's a privilege, but it's not really a smooth sailing working in the government, because the governing laws that cover our agency, that cover in a way how we handle the documents, how we are under the confidentiality of the documents. Even the laws are conflicting sometimes, just like as I showed you before. The information, the freedom of information law is conflicting to us because we are not under the executive office. As I said, we are the legislative office. And we always need the approval of our head of agency before we could provide you the information that you need. So it conflicting in a sense that sometimes even the agency, say for instance, the National Archives of the Philippines compared to the National Privacy Commission, sometimes they have conflicting guidelines that that really confuses us on which one we need to follow or we need to prioritize. So, and the other thing also is the applicability. There are some guidelines that are not applicable to us, as I've said, because of the uniqueness of our documents. And also there are laws that we do not implement for some reasons. One is it's not applicable to us. And there's also the reason of the approval coming from the head of our office is very slow, or simply because he doesn't like our proposal. That's why it's not implemented. And also in terms working in the government is, as I mentioned before, is covered under the Civil Service Commission. We need to fulfill the competencies established by the Civil Service Commission. However, in our case, we are a political office. There are instances, most of the time actually, that say for instance, educational requirements or competencies is not being observed for promotion, especially in the high-ranking position. The politics dictates that there are, politicians that recommends their preferences, that recommends their own people to be in the commission appointments, even without the needed qualification. That's the sad part also working in the government. I don't exactly know the exact words to translate in English, but in Tagalog, we say it's palakasan. It means whoever is powerful enough to recommend for certain position is given the priority, even though the person being recommended is not really qualified. So that's the irony working in the government. And so also, it boils down to some professional competencies. They are not really competent enough to be in our office. In terms of remuneration, I think nowadays salary in the government is better than in the private. But working in the legislative office, actually we are actually getting more than those working in the executive office. And career promotion is very slow because we always need, it's not very easy for us to create a position in the government. We need to submit so many documents before a certain position can be approved. So it needs to be approved by the Department of Budget and so on and so forth. And we need approval by the Civil Service Commission and so on and so forth. So it's really slow. And in terms of support, issue in prioritization. Sometimes the library is not prioritized, even though we in the data bank is really overloaded with works, because we are the support arm of the confirmation process. We prepare all the working folders for the meetings and sessions. But the reality says that other departments has given more priority than our department. And also the issue with infrastructure. The infrastructure that we use at the moment is under, since we are in the government, it's under by the Department of Information Communication and Communication. But we require, especially now that we are in a pandemic, we require bigger clouds so we could upload all our documents and books and records in the cloud. But the DICT only provide us just a little cloud that we can use for our backup and for our access. So what we need, especially me, what I did so I can provide information outside of the office, I use my personal cloud. I actually have a subscription with the Google Drive. Bigger, it's actually my personal subscription. But since the government or the office cannot provide us a bigger space in the cloud, and it's still an issue with approval. So at the moment, I'm using my personal cloud so I can have others access with other with the documents in the cloud outside of the office. But eventually, maybe in a few weeks from now, we could already have the bigger cloud so we can provide more service outside of the office. And the biggest issue that we are facing right now is the space, because at the moment, I cannot show you really, because we have a small library. We have 2 rooms of archives. So our documents, our collection is very much scattered at the moment. So we don't have a bigger space to hold all our documents, all our records, all our books. So our documents is really scattered in the office. Room 1, we have room 1 for archives, we have room 2 for archives. They are not really, all the documents is not really together in one place. But maybe in 5 years from now, we are actually in preparation for moving to a bigger, to a bigger office, because the Senate office is moving to a new building 5 years from now. We need to be near the Senate because the Senate President is also our chairperson. That's why wherever the Senate goes, we need to go near them as well. That's why the new building of the Senate of the Philippines will provide us a space for our new office. Excuse me. But this will be happening 5 years from now. But as early as now, I am preparing for our transfer to a new office, which commences 5 years from now. So that's all. I hope I can impart you a little of how the works in the Commission on Appointments really. I hope, I'm pretty sure that ours is very much unique, as you have in your library. The nature of our collection, the nature of the way we facilitate the information is very much unique compared to your libraries. I hope you get something from me. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ingles-Cruz. Very interesting and very inspiring presentation. We got a lot of knowledge about the government librarians are. So basically, you deal with secret document.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay. We are in Indonesia, basically also have a Senate library, namely Perpustakaan DPR, or representative library. Yeah.
Yes, Senate is, we are different from the Senate.
Different.
We are an independent body. It's just that the Senate President, whoever is the Senate President, is our chairman. But we are completely separate from the Senate of the Philippines.
Okay, everybody, I believe that all of the audience have so many questions. Ms. Shirley, you prefer the question asked directly by the audience, or they should read the question in the chat room?
Okay.
You prefer they ask directly, or they should read the question by type in the chat room? Okay, I have a question from Anup Kumar. Anup Kumar asks, is there comparable remuneration for the government librarian, fees, academic librarians in university?
Well, in my case, in the legislative office, I think we are getting more than what they're getting in terms of salary, because we are independent body. And most of those working in the academy is under the executive office. They are under the Department of Education or the Department of Higher Education. So those offices is under the executive office or under the office of the president. So it's competitive in the sense that it's in terms of qualification, they require more qualification if you would like to work in the academy as compared to other library in the government, because you are dealing with, knowledge education. But we have a standardized, since our salary is standardized, but there are other benefits, other bonuses that we get that they do not get.
So basically, all of government librarian in Philippines should have license.
Yes, you cannot work as a librarian without the license. You can only have the license if you pass the board exam given by the Professional Regulation Commission.
Okay.
I'm
Is
not
it
sure
clear,
in
Mr.
Indonesia.
Kumar?
That's actually the basic qualification. You need to pass the board exam. That's the basic, very basic.
Okay. Okay, I have the second question from Mala. Mala is one of the LIS students at UIN Sunan Kalijaga. Mala asked that what are the big obstacles faced by librarian government, and please share with us how you deal with it.
I've been in the government for more than 20 years. The biggest and very sad challenge is there are still stigma in terms of being a librarian, because the sad part is compared with other profession, the librarians actually is not highly regarded. So, but I think this is very few nowadays because of the passing of the law, which is the Philippine Librarianship Act. Somehow we managed to uplift our profession in the Philippines through seminars, to conferences, and joining conferences abroad. So as compared with other profession, I think we managed to get out of the country most of the time as they do. So in a way, we were able to market our profession as not just a librarian, but a highly regarded one, a highly professional one, and we are the keeper of information, which the country really need in order to attain a better economic development.
Okay, I think the case almost same with here. Yeah, the obstacle is about the recognition of the
recognition
profession.
of people look at you as a librarian. It actually depends on us how we let them judge us.
Yes.
Because in my case, as you may know, some of you knew me that I travel a lot. So me being a traveler somehow adds up to how people look at me as a librarian. In a way, yeah.
Like you and Miss Labibah, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a third question. The third question is from Zakia Faiza, the LIS student of UIN Sunan Kalijaga. Zakia, I want to ask a question about how can non-member user access the information in government library, maybe for research or other information needed.
In our case, you need to request for information because our information is concentrated on the confirmation process. So if, say, for instance, mostly the requests that we get are minutes of the meetings, transcript of records. In such instances, unless it's because normally at the end of the Congress, say, for instance, at the end of because this time we are already in the 18th Congress. After the end of the Congress, we normally have the journal. We print journals, we bound journals, and we distribute it to other agencies and to other libraries. But for instances that there are requests for transcript of records, we do not just give unless we need a written request for you to access the record, and we need it to be approved by the head of the Commission on Appointments.
So they have to send the request letter.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, next question is from Anita Runtuwene from LIS Department of Samratulangi University, Manado, North Sulawesi. She asks, how are the tips of librarians to attract the interest of community to visiting and reading in the library, considering and currently the information needed is very easy to get internet via smartphone? Thank you.
I cannot really answer that because I am not working in. I think it's more needed if you work in a children's library, in an academic library. But as I said, because of the nature of our collection, I don't think we can do that.
Yeah. I think this is the irrelevant question. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next question.
We make our own information. Yes.
Okay. The next question is from Israwianti Gunarto. How many librarians that participate in your library, and what are their education background?
Well, as I said before, I'm the only librarian in the Commission on Appointments, and I have records officer under me. So I'm working as an archivist, as a librarian, and as the head at the same time. And I have several staff.
Graduate from library science?
Yes.
Wow.
Because actually, I only have a few collection of books. Most of these are law books. And we also have online subscription of local law books. We don't subscribe to international law books. Unless we need them, we can easily access them, and we request other offices to provide us the law. But in terms of the profession, I'm the only librarian in the Commission on Appointments.
Okay. Shirley, sorry, please, can you stop your share screen?
Can I wait? One moment, please.
Okay.
What should I do?
And your share screen. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, we move to the next question. The next question is from Nana. She's LIS student also. All of the question mostly from students. Okay. She asked, if the document is already restored electronically, do you still keep the hard copy of the document?
Yes, we still. We still. We need, as I mentioned before, we have the National Archives of the Philippines. We follow their guidelines. We need them approval once we need to dispose the documents. But there are instances, as I mentioned, there are some confidentiality with the records that we just don't dispose. So as much as possible, we keep them, we keep the physical record. That's why we already lack the space. But we are in the process already of identifying the documents that we need to dispose. And at the moment, we are doing that. And maybe in the next few months, we need to submit our request to the National Archives if we can dispose them already. But most of them, we also have the soft copy because, as I mentioned before, we scan them, we store them in the cloud. We also have the physical backup, and we also have the backup in the office.
Okay. I think
as
the next
much
question
as possible, we do not dispose. once
Uh,
we stored it in the cloud. We do not dispose because most of them are original documents. The physical documents are original documents, so we could not just dispose.
the next question is related question, I think. Did you ever destroy the library because the document is not relevant and more? What is the requirement to destroy such as document in Philippines? I think
No, we
this question is about reading.
We don't destroy. We don't destroy library.
Oh,
The in thing now in the Philippines, actually, there is a competition among local governments, among mayors, to build up their own libraries, because we are happy. Actually, maybe the effort that we put in dissemination of information with regards to our profession and the importance of information to students and to the citizen of the Philippines, the mayors and local governments are now into, they are into a competition, I think, to have as much as possible a very reliable, a bigger library for their city. That's already what's happening in the Philippines right now. It's just halted for a while because of the pandemic. But there are some cities that already building their own public library for their own community.
yeah. Okay, next question is from Yoga, my LIS student. Yoga asks a question. Is the database itself made by the library, or you use some database provider to store your digitized letter?
No, we do not. As I mentioned before, we have a programmer, in-house programmer. So we design our database based on our preferences. So our programmer is actually the ones who make the database for us. We don't subscribe to any commercial database.
Is there any possibility if the document will terminate from the cloud? Or you just archive it forever?
I think it's business between the cloud provider and the office. But in our case, since we are under the government, our cloud is actually managed by the Department of Information and Communication. However, as I said, it's not enough for us because of the type of documents and huge collection that we have. So that's why at the moment I'm using my personal cloud, because the cloud provided by the office, by the government, is not enough to hold our collection. Actually, that's our problem also, because we require a bigger cloud, but the Department of Information, the DICT, cannot provide us the requirement that we need. The problem that we may face in the future is there is a third party holding the cloud for us. There is another government agency that is managing the cloud for us. The problem that we may face is in terms of security.
Okay. I think the question is already questioned. Okay, I will summarize some of the speakers' points. So to work as a librarian in Philippines, we should have a license. And I think this is time to Indonesian to reflect. How about Indonesia? How about to work as a librarian in Indonesia? And the government librarian main job are managing the documents and information regarding the type of government responsibility, like Ms. Shirley that work at Congress Library. She managed the specific document like a letter from the presidential office and etc. It handled by following official guideline and rules. In technical aspect, the document also handled with the special treatment like coloring the folder and etc. Okay, thank you, Ms. Shirley Ingles-Cruz and all of the audience for the great discussion in this afternoon. Don't forget, next month we still have the interesting discussion. Please follow the social medias of UIN Sunan Kalijaga Library for the further information. Again, I would like to thank you for involving me in this great event. Thank you for having me. I apologize for all of my mistakes. Goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Mr. Thoriq, and our speaker, Mrs. Shirley. And last but not least, we invite Dr. Debal as the president of SLA to deliver the vote of thanks. Okay, Mr. Debal, please. The time is yours.
Thank you.
Ya, teman-teman.
Respected Dr. Ida Hadna, Librarian UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, Kirkwood, Business School of Oxford University and past president of Special Libraries Association, Shirley Ingles-Cruz, Commission of Appointments, Congress of Philippines, Labiba Jain, librarian and Thoriq Prabowo, LIS Department of UIN, Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, my friends and dear participants. It is my proud privilege to vote of thanks for this nice program. This is fifth in the series of international talks visiting librarians organized by UIN Sunan Kalijaga Library, Yogyakarta, Indonesia, and SLA Asia and APPTIS. It is a nice initiative by the Library of UIN Sunan Kalijaga and led by Ms. Labiba Jain. Today's topic was government librarian and speaker was Shirley Ingles-Cruz from Indonesia, from Philippines. She was given a nice talk and it was very lively. Thank you, Shirley Ingles-Cruz, for accepting our invitation and for your nice talk. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you very much, Dr. Debal.
I also wish to thank Dr. Ida Hadna of UIN Sunan Kalijaga Library, Yogyakarta, and Hall Kirkwood, Business School of Oxford University, and past president of Special Libraries Association for giving opening remarks and accepting our invitation. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ida Hadna and Hall Kirkwood. Thank you, both of them. Thanks also due to Thoriq Prabowo, LIS Department of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, for nicely moderating the session and question answers. It will be incomplete if I do not thank UIN Sunan Kalijaga librarian and the team of librarian. Also LIS Department of UIN Sunan Kalijaga, Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Many, many thanks to the UIN Sunan Kalijaga librarian and team, LIS Department of UIN Sunan Kalijaga for nicely planning, executing and organizing this program and their dedication. Thanks and congratulations to the group leader, Labiba Jain, for leading this group and the program. Above all, thanks to all of you, the attending. Without your lively participation, this program would not be a success. Thank you everybody. I and SLA Asian community are very happy for joining and associating this program. Thanks also to APPTIS for their support. I also thanks APSCO, I Group, Taylor and Francis for their support. Thank you. Thanks everybody. Thanks. Thank you everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, Mr. Debal, thank you so much for taking out your time because you were in a busy schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, before we end this meeting, let's take some pictures together and make sure your camera is on. Don't forget to give your best smile for this unforgettable moment. And I want to remember you, for all of the participants that want to get a certificate, please fill the attendance form, and the registration key is 87754. Once again, the registration key is 87754. Okay. I will check up first. Okay, start from the first slide. Don't forget to give your best smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, second slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, last slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end of the meeting. We would like to say thank you for our speaker, Mrs. Shirley, and our moderator, Mr. Thoriq, for the informative and interesting talk. And also all the participants, thank you so much for joining us today. I do apologize for my mistake in presenting this event. Thank you so much for your kind attention. I hope this event can give a lot of benefit for us and new information that can be applied to our life, in our life. Okay, thank you so much and see you in the next session. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shirley. Thank you, Hall. Thank you, Dr. Debal. Thank you for accepting our invitations. Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody. Thank Labiba for organizing this program.
Thank you so much. Dr. Debal, I know you're still weak, but you always support us all the time. Thank you so much.
Labiba, if you do something, I can't say no to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope everything is getting better there in India.
Yeah.
And also, Hall, thank you so much. I hope next time you can join us.
Very welcome. Yep.
Thank you. And Shirley, I miss you so much.
Miss you too.
I miss traveling with you.
You cannot travel nowadays.
Yeah.
We missed 2 SLA in USA, 2020 and 2021.
Yeah. I don't know. It's offline activities again, maybe in 2022, maybe. We hope so.
Maybe.
Yeah, we hope so.
Once everybody takes vaccine, then maybe it's got some relief, but it has still doubt. It will be continued.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We still have to wear our mask and everything. Yeah, wash our hand and social distancing is very important.
I don't think so. It will be that will be we will not get the back years. We will not get back those days.
Yeah. Oh.
Anyway, we have to live with that.
Yeah. Yes, we have to live with everything. Here we have Dr. Nurdin Laugu, also the head of a department of LIS program. Dr. Nurdin Laugu.
Hello. Hello, Dr. Debal. Shirley, you still remember me? Shirley?
Yeah, Nurdin is visited Manila for the IQSL 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also he is the key person also for IQSL 2017 in Yogyakarta. And I think everybody should know that we are going to have cultural event on on 6th of June. Everybody can join us through the Instagram, because our students are organizing cultural event. Usually we have offline cultural event, but because of COVID-19, so we organize the cultural event through online. I need all the support for all of you, and visit the Instagram pameran budaya. I will write it in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
See you again, even if it's only on a video.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody who already joined us.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Lansang Kuning, Bu Firna, terima kasih. Pulis, Widyawati, Bu Marwia.
Thank you, Mr. Thoriq,
Alawiyah.
and thank you, Dr. Debal Sikar.
Bagja. Thank you so much, Bu Anita, terima kasih. Pak Sandra, siapa lagi? Pak Budi dan lain sebagainya. Terima kasih banyak. Kita pamit. Thank you so much. Enjoy the day. Thank you. See you next time.